Alright guys, welcome back to Aussie Arvos. Today is another very exciting day for Landcruiser. I say this every time, but today's actually, I'm so excited for. We're putting on the Cruiser Company rear bar on the 80 series. This is fully kitted out. It's got side protection, jerry can holders, rear tire, reverse lights. It's got everything on it, so I can't wait to get it on. We're gonna go through the full install, installing it on the 80 series. So first up, we're gonna get rid of this factory plastic bumper, rip that all off, and then yeah, we'll get on to installing this new rear bar. So can't wait, so excited, so let's get straight into it. Liam and I weren't messing around, we got straight into ripping off that factory rear plastic bar. I've been dreaming of putting a rear bar in the 80 series for so long, and to have one of this caliber going on, I was so excited. So we said goodbye to Toyota Purity and ripped off all this plastic edging. It's all pretty easy, it's basically all just nuts and bolts to take off, and it literally all comes apart very, very easily. Yeah. A few stuff have seized on and stripped over the 30 years this car's been around, but it all came off relatively easy. So the plastic bumper's off the 80 now, as you can see, and we're going to get ready to put the rear bar on. But what we need to do first is actually cut off these welded mounts, which are welded on to support the plastic rear bumper. So these have got to come off in order to slide our new rear bumper on. So Liam's gonna get the grinder out, give them a cut. Also got to remove some recovery points that are bolted on here as well. And then once they're all off, we should be able to hopefully slide the new rear bumper on. So Liam fired up the grinder to remove these welds. Pretty straightforward job. Take out the welds, smash up a bit of metal, spray paint it, and you're good to go. Chassis shot. So the cutting's complete, it's all painted, and I've just been messing around with the cabling for the trailer plug. We're tapping in for the trailer plug for all our reverse lights, indicators, etc. So we've made a little cut in it there, which that's going to hopefully feed nicely into our cables on our rear bar. So what we're going to do now is just test fit it and actually see how it all fits up.
Because we still got to, so the next bit of cutting you'll have to do, the bottom of the wheel arches, or the flares, sorry. It is this bit along here, but I'm not sure exactly where. So obviously the bar runs tight with the lines of the body. So this is going to be a problem. So we're going to test fit it just to see sort of where we have to cut. But from my understanding, it's just along there. But we're going to do a test fit to see. Yes, it's already getting flat.
All right, it's time to cut.
I don't know if this is the best tool. They say use a handsaw. I don't know if the coping saw will be better.
With the factory flares now trimmed, we can refit the rear bar. Alright, so we test fitted the rear bar a couple times, and we after cutting the flares, and it all sits up all nice. So the next thing is it's actually bolted onto the chassis. So we got these inner chassis brackets, which are the first ones we put on. But we just slide them into our chassis rails here, and you'll see they line up. So what we're going to do now is actually grab the rear bar, put it on, and then bolt these on, and then we've got a few other clamps, don't we? Another couple chassis clamps to...
Yeah, there's a few series of clamps and things, but these are the first ones to go in, and then once you've done these, then everything else works around it.
Yeah, yep. So let's go doing that. The rear bar is secured by bolts that go through pre-existing holes in the chassis rail, and it's also secured by clamps on the chassis rail themselves. So this thing is bolted on super strong, it's not going anywhere. I then began on the wiring, which I had included LED reverse lights, along with your typical parkers, indicators, brakes, and reverse lights. Alright, so now the bar is properly on the 80. We've been doing just...
Yeah. Paddy's been messing around with all the wiring.
Yeah, trying to
getting all that sorted before we worry about the other stuff. But I think he's got it all done now. And
I've
just been doing the mounting brackets. So there's obviously you got to mount it to the chassis, and then you got a couple plates that mount across from where the wings of the bar come in and they connect to the chassis.
Yep.
Which is just all nuts and bolts. It's all pretty straightforward. And so now I think we're now at the point.
Put the arms on.
Put the the cool bits.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a. I mean, most people probably figured it out, but it uses like bearings and on all these shafts, I suppose. So yeah, so we're gonna have to like grease the bearings and do a few little things, I think. And yeah, we should be able to stick the arms on, and that should be the probably the
Yeah,
easiest part. Let's
yeah.
just stick them on, put a bolt on top, and
Yeah, that's
that
it.
should be pretty straightforward. And
Yep.
then we can finish off any things that need to be done. But
Yep, perfect.
come along well. Yeah, so the first bit's the little dust seal. So that goes on the bottom, so I just put a bit of grease on the. You can probably grease this whole shaft as well, even though you're pressing the bearings on. Like, put a bit of grease on that whole shaft, just bearing grease. That one first, so that's obviously going to protect any stuff from coming in on the bottom. Oh, and actually got to pack the bearings. This is the dirty job that everyone hates. The process of greasing bearings, pretty much get some bearing grease in your hand like that. This is like the old school method, and I probably should be wearing gloves, or like, mechanics gloves or whatever. But you're pretty much just kneading, in a sense, forcing the grease up through the bearing past the rollers, and you just got to watch it come out the top. So if I start doing it, I'm just sort of kneading it in, and then see those little bubbles coming out in between the rollers? That means you've forced grease all the way up through. So you pretty much just got to do that the whole way around. Then once you've greased up the bearing, simply cone side up, large side on, like so. Obviously, think all this is going to be at underwater at some stage when you're going through Nolan's at Cape York, so grease it all up nice, because you don't want water getting in there. Not that obviously this isn't as critical as like a wheel bearing, but in order to keep it swinging smoothly for longer, grease everything up nicely.
After everything was greased up, we could throw on the rear arms. Oh. As you can see, I've opted for the twin jerry cans on the left-hand side and a tire carrier on the right-hand side. Alright, so the rear arms, they are on. So Liam can clip them in for us now. But as you'll see, they're in, and we got to put the number plate now on here. So obviously, so you can see it, because it's going to get blocked by this, the tire. So we'll go ahead and put the number plate on. Probably put.
Oh, and we got to do there's gas struts come with the arms. So
and gas struts,
help you open them when you're on a hill and stuff, and also hold them open. So we'll whack them on there very easy.
Do that, and we should be basically done.
Yeah.
We finished off getting the gas struts on, throwing a tire on the back, and man, it was looking absolutely awesome. The next morning, we drilled the holes and mounted the number plate to the jerry can holder. We also added the included number plate light as well. So that's everything all wired, all the lights work. Time to go use it. Alright, so it's been a few weeks now of having the Cruiser Company rear bar on the 80 series. I've had the chance to take it camping, just take it to the shops, day-to-day activities, all that. So we're going to show you now what it's like in its final form and how it all works. So let's get through it. So obviously I went with the tire carrier on the right-hand side and got twin jerry cans on the left. Tire on the right-hand side so that I could see back out the back of the car easier. But you could change it up either way. You can literally ask them if I want it on the left side or right side and they'll do it for you. So yeah, twin jerry cans because I love carrying water, and if I want to do some big trips, carrying extra 20 litres or 40 litres of fuel is awesome. And obviously having the tire carrier up here, moving the spare from down there up to here, gives me better clearance. I get a better departure angle on the car, and it's way easier to change a tire, and I get to put a bin bag back on my car, which I was missing so much from the Pajero, so great to have that on there. I've also opted for rear quarter protection, so I've got these hoops here on either side, and this is going to basically protect this rear quarter from getting smashed in by any big things. It also helps on tracks if you're kind of going around really tight stuff, trees, whatever, to nudge you in and out of the way. So awesome to have that on there, and it is strong as, like this is not going anywhere. And so the reason it is so damn strong is because we've got a big chassis clamp here, and we've also bolted into the chassis here, so it's literally bolted, it's tied onto the chassis, and it really isn't going anywhere. Also here you can see we've had to cut the flare. Liam did a really good job of cutting it. Like, it looks really seamless, like it literally matches. That brings me to my next point, is how the bar actually looks. So the actual rear bar matches the contours of the 80 really well. Like, it really is quite sleek. It doesn't poke out a ton. It's not really boxy. The edges are all really nice. It fits in really well, and it matches those flares perfectly, which I really like. It's just a solidly looking bar from the back. It looks really good, and it's just not too over the top, if you get what I mean. It's just it looks like it suits the car. So obviously I've still kept my tow bar here. Would be cool to have a bar which had the tow bar incorporated in it, but obviously that's probably a bit hard to do that. But I've still got my tow bar here to, you know, do towing if I want to do that. But I mean, yeah, if you want to be super slick about it, you might have incorporated the tow bar into the actual rear bar. But then that would also make your departure angle a bit better as well, because this bar has a really good departure angle. The only thing that lets me down from here is my tow bar. So, but I want to keep my tow bar on just in case I do need a tow or whatever. So yeah. All right, so now we'll open up the rear bar. So yeah, the latches all hold it on really firmly. Like you can see the whole car moving. So, and they're pretty straightforward to open up. You just flick them. They're on gas struts, which is amazing. I don't think I'd ever buy a bar which didn't have gas struts in it, because if you're on a hill or whatever, you want these to be able to stay open and not, you know, keep falling and crush you. They're really high weighted as well, so on those hills they're not going to come and fool you. And once you get about halfway, it'll basically just close itself automatically. So really good. So get this one open. Get that open. So once you got that open, obviously you can see the top of the bar here. So you do have a fairly bit of platform, which is handy for accessing the roof, for instance. Makes it really good. Gives you a little bit of bench if you need it. But I usually just tailgate open, and as you can see, you got plenty of room on each side. And you can actually adjust these to make them swing out a bit further by moving back the stopper here. It's just basically on a nut, on a bolt, and you can just pull one the nut back and the stopper can go back, and you can open these up even further. So having the rear bar really helps the whole camping setup, because it gives you a lot more places to put things when you're camping and just use it. So for example here, they've got these cutouts here for a jerry can where I can have a tap in here. So I'll put my tap in the jerry can, and then while I'm making food or whatever, I can just turn the tap and get water out of my jerry cans there, which is awesome. Same with the bin bag. It's handy having the bin on this side, just so when I'm cooking, come over and put food in the bin or whatever you're throwing out. So they make it really user friendly and just makes it a lot easier when camping. Before that, the 80 series is pretty bare bones, so it's good to have these two things to give more camping utility. Another awesome thing is, I mentioned when I was talking about tailgates versus rear bars and all that stuff on the GU and versus Patrol. With this, you can now get on the roof, no worries, which I never could get on the roof on the 80 series beforehand, but now because I got a rear tyre, makes it actually pretty straightforward if you're young and nimble to get on the roof, so that's a good thing. Another thing here, we've also got indicators and reverse lights. So I've got a set of steady flash reverse lights there, which is super bright at night. Like, compared to those little globes up here, you can see everything when you're backing up, which is awesome. And yeah, LED reverse lights. So brake indicator, reverse parkers, you got all them, which is awesome. And yeah, they look pretty seamless, they look great, and they work well. So I guess one thing to remember is adding a rear bar, you're adding two extra doors you need to open before you can get to your fridge or whatever, which for some people might be a pain in the ass. Me personally, for the times I'm getting in the back of this car, is usually when I'm going away camping or doing whatever, so I don't mind the 2 seconds it takes to go and they're unlocked. Like, that doesn't really bother me. I'd rather be able to carry all this stuff than not have them, essentially. But for me, I was always intending to get a rear bar for the 80. It was a matter of time until I put the trigger on one, so it was something I always wanted, because I do think the one thing that the 80s lack is having a rear tire carrier. I just like the tire being up here. I love having a bin bag, and now to be able to carry water and extra fuel as well is awesome. So the Cruiser Company rear bar has done a lot for me. It's given me protection in the rear of the car from when I was out forward driving. Like, that's one of the first things I wanted, was a rear bar, just because that entire plastic bumper is just plastic, and you hit something, I didn't want to bash in the rear door or anything. This tailgate was already dinted up as a hell beforehand when you saw when we bought the car. I had to replace all that, so having this gives me extra protection. It gives me added storage, which now I can carry 40 litres of whatever fluids I want. I can carry an extra tyre. I can carry 2 tyres now for big missions. I can carry my bin bag, which I always wanted to carry. I can now get up onto the roof, which I've always wanted to do. And yeah, it looks stylish. I've now got better indicators and brake lights, and better reverse lights now. So it's added a lot more to the 80. Sure, it might have added a little bit more weight. I'm not sure exactly how much they weigh, but a bit more weight onto it. But it's fulfilled all the things I wanted the 80 to do. So the 80 is really getting to its final form where I'm happy with it. When we went away camping with this the other week, it was a dream. Like, I was able to have my jerry cans there, my bin there. It was awesome to live out of. So yeah, it's really getting to a stage where I'm really happy with it. But yeah, it's an awesome bar. And as you can see, me and Liam put it together at home in a little over half a day. So super easy to do yourself as well. And yeah, so that's about it on the rear bar. I know I've probably made a huge video about a rear bar, but it is honestly a good rear bar. Really like it. Like even little things like being able to tie your jerry cans. It's got these little holes that you can tie your jerry cans down to. They've thought about stuff and they've made a good product. So thanks to Cruiser Company for supplying the rear bar. Can't wait to have it on the 80 for all the years to come. And hope you enjoyed this little video, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.